Good morning. Welcome to the Marion County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's Wednesday, January 31st, 2018. We're in the Senator Hearing Room here at Courthouse Square in Salem, Oregon. We always begin our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance and invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There is no one signed up for public comment, and we invite people who might be listening to come on down to Courthouse Square at 9 o'clock every Wednesday morning and have the opportunity to share your thoughts with us. So we do have a presentation this morning, the Oregon Garden Foundation first quarterly report, and Allison, is it Pinnell? That is it? Okay, from the Oregon Garden Foundation is here. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. I do know Commissioner Brentano, but I'm excited to meet you, Commissioner Carlson. My name is Allison Pinnell, and I started as the Development Director of the Foundation, Oregon Garden Foundation on December 4th, so I'm still pretty green, but I was involved previously. I was a representative from the Oregon Association of Nurseries for the last about 2 years, so I'm pretty familiar with the foundation and everything. And I also do want to open by saying that the foundation is very grateful for the generous proposal that the county has given regarding the debt forgiveness, and we hope to move forward with our partners and really appreciate that opportunity. So this report, I'm going to just quickly cover some of the things that occurred during the first fiscal quarter for Marion County, which was last July through September. We had a bee overwintering structure built at the garden, so that's placed kind of near the visitor center, and the mission of that is to help with pollinator education, and to also, there's a lot of research that a lot of the reason colonies collapse over the winter is because of wetness and the dampness here, so it's about a 5x8 roof structure that we can use now for education and where the beehives will go during the winter, so that was built during this time. The other thing you probably are aware of, but the foundation had vacant staff positions during this time, so we were very indebted to the Moonstone Garden Management staff, really helped and stepped right in to help with programs, one of which is our bricks program, so it's a way to put memorial or honorary bricks throughout the garden, and we had Dellen Kitchen, who is not here today, but she will be here at future meetings giving reports, and she's the assistant general manager to the garden now. And so anyway, she helped a lot with the bricks program, and we also had a lot of volunteers who kept that going, although there was no staff. We also had a lot of activity in our conifer garden, which is a world-recognized garden by the American Conifer Society for reference and education. We had a lot of people working out there and continuing to add new plants and to add new features to that garden during this time. And kind of kind of following the first quarter, but there was work done during this period on our year-end appeal. We had our year-end appeal go out this fall, and we did slate those funds for the education program. We have a big environmental education program that serves about 6,000 students of Marion County in partnership with OFRI, and we had the education for that. They did apply during this time for the Collins Family Foundation grant, and that unfortunately was rejected, so we have gotten feedback to move forward and reapply for this year to try to get those funds. Also during this time in September, Oktoberfest was managed by Moonstone because the OGF staff vacancies, and so they wanted to help us to not lose that opportunity and to make sure that we didn't lose that spot in the festival hall there, and the profits aren't quite ready, but it's estimated we made about $7,000 from that event. And also the OGF received about a $1,000 grant also that was part of that, which will go to help with the OFRI Educators Funds. And part of the Collins grant, part of the reason it was rejected, some of our feedback we got was we needed to strengthen our an expression for equity and for inviting diversity, both in our staffing, which is challenging, and our board, and so we are going to, when we reapply, get some more of the deeper demographics of the school children that they're served, because that definitely is part of the program, is to get kids in urban communities and with more diversity out and enjoying the forest that's at the garden and to just help them get out there. Also during this time, some fun events that occurred in the garden was Garden University. We had programs on pollinators, on grafted tomatoes, and a lot of demonstration in our market garden during last July, August, and September. And the garden classes are discounted for members. We also had tons of summer help with staff and volunteers. We have over 100 very active volunteers at the garden that were very instrumental during this time keeping things going. And we did our donation report. We got about $2,000 over the summer in box donations. Those are just stationed throughout the garden for people to just give us kind of a passive donation mechanism. We got 347 at Oktoberfest in terms of donation. That's in addition to the profits of the event. And then we got about $2,220 for special projects. Most of those went into the existing fund for just the day-to-day maintenance and improvements on the existing conifer garden. The other thing that may not have been brought to the county's attention previously was there was a bequest from the estate of Joanne Isley. So that was for $104,905.20. And so a lot of those funds are going to the conifer expansion campaign, which is an additional garden that's planned. It's been planned for quite some time. But the foundation's very grateful for that. Do you guys have any questions before I kind of move on to some ideas for the future quarters?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. So right now what we're working on, we did also just wrap up, Moonstone just wrapped up doing Christmas in the garden. So this is moving out of that period, but that was a big event. It was very well attended. We have about 2,200 members right now, and half of them did attend Christmas in the garden, showing that people who are enjoying the garden are also enjoying those events too. And so I'm working with the foundation side to make sure that we are really a presence at all of these garden events, to make sure that people do understand, because one of the challenges is when there's a big event on the property, sometimes the feedback comes back at the garden with terms of parking and other things like that. So we're just trying to make sure it's very present, that the events are really fun, but that there's a lot of hard work going into sustaining the garden as well. We also did earn over $2,000 in donations during Christmas in the garden that went directly to the HEF Fund, which is the Horticulture Enhancement Fund, and those were based from the Santa booth. So Santa was working really hard during that time, making about $100 a day in donations, and sometimes up to $200 on the weekend days. Also with OGF right now, you guys are probably aware, because I know our budget was on your agenda, but we're working hard to finalize that budget with all our partners to make sure we have everything accounted for. We have a very hardworking bookkeeper that we've contracted with, and she's done a lot of hard work to go back and make sure everything was reconciled to the right account originally, and then as well as moving forward. So I'm confident the next time that I'm here, we will be talking about the bylaws and the budget. And with the bylaws, the main goal of that is just to make it very relevant to who our current partners are, and also expand the board from 5 to 7 members so that we can kind of cover a greater part than just the Silverton, Marion County area, but really get the outreach going that this is the Oregon Garden, and get involvement throughout the state and beyond these regions. We also have some new programs beginning that are kind of in the way of just small passive revenue streams, but things that haven't really been very well marketed before, but we're really marketing to our members other ways they can support the garden, because they're our greatest support base. But so Amazon Smile is one of those that we picked up to do, where if people allocate Oregon Garden Foundation, every time they shop on Amazon, we'll just get a little bit of kickback. And there's also a lot going on with different charity pubs and restaurant nights. Many, many venues have those, and so it's just a great way, if you just let them know you're there, to just make a few $100s for the garden. We also have a big event coming up in 2018, which is our Golf for Education event. It's the inaugural year of that, and those funds will go toward the environmental science education program at the garden. So that's what we have looking forward, and thank you guys very much for your time.
Well, thank you very much
Yeah.
for coming. Any questions?
No, not really. I think you can see the enthusiasm that Ally brings, and I hope she can continue that for the future. One, just to make sure you know, are you aware that we've appointed Gloria Roy as a new board member? I'm really excited about it. Gloria was our legal counsel for the county and worked on the Oregon Garden, that she wanted to come back. I thought she was kidding, but once I determined she was serious, I said absolutely. So she'll be a great contributor for us.
Yeah, she's probably the one person in the universe that understands how this thing is put together, funded, who does what, and understands what the real boundaries are and what the legal boundaries are.
We definitely need her.
Right, yeah, so,
I
she will provide some continuity in those discussions, I know.
Yeah, I am aware about her appointment, and I've been in contact with her too, and she plans to be at the next board meeting, February 13th, and then we're going to try to get a visit beforehand, just so she can feel confident of what she's stepping into and everything. But yeah, I'm really excited about her.
Good.
So thank you both very much. Have a great day.
Okay, so before we do our consent calendar, we're going to remove that budget item that Allison talked about, and I think it's number 3.
So, Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we remove for further work the consideration of the approval of Oregon Garden Foundation 2018 budget.
And I will second your motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that item is removed, and we'll come back at another date. So now we'll move to the consent calendar. Long one.
A long one, but you've showed me how I can shorten.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion we approve our consent calendar this morning. On it, under the District Attorney's Office, approve an agreement from the Oregon Department of Justice Crime Victim Service Division for $989,233.34 to assist with federal funding victims of crime in the state criminal fines account. In Public Works, approve an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for $20,000 reimbursement to the county for costs associated with a traffic study at Brook Lake Road interchange. Receive notice of hearings officer's recommendation and schedule a public hearing on February 28, 2018 for zone change comprehensive plan case 17003 R&K Properties LLC, and that's clerk's file 5739. Sheriff's Office approved the contract for services with Bridgeway Recovery Services Incorporated for $291,312 for the support and treatment for females under the supervision of parole and probation. And then a series of tax refunds. We approved tax refunds in the amount of $89,693.49 to Core Logic Tax Service, tax ID number R25983, $21,365.44, again to Core Logic Tax Services, tax ID R26222, $25,582.60 to Life Flight Network LLC, tax ID number P344011. Another Life Flight for $47,719.92, tax ID number R3511432. Again, Life Flight Network for $32,215.69. For tax ID R351433, a refund for $18,862.97 to MF Nola Place LLC, tax ID R78027, and $18,504.69 to Seaman Pollard Family Restaurants Incorporated, tax ID R83426. And the final tax refund, $80,078.87 to South Block Apartments LLC, tax ID number R3432741.
Very good. I will second the motion for all those items. Any discussion on any of them?
Yeah, I almost feel like having our assessor come in and explain what so many of these are for to several places. Just, I know it's a main thing to do, but, so how does this happen? If I may, and it looks like I did.
You may.
Sure, so, actually happy I was here. Thank you, I'm Tom Rolfing, Marion County Assessor. I did discuss these when I saw them listed in the board's agenda for today, and I asked our tax collector, Rex Wiesner, what's happening with these. And most of these are a double payment. So companies, well, you see the first couple of them were CoreLogic Tax They're getting a refund because a company's accountant likely paid the tax bills. And the other ones are the opposite, right? They probably, for some reason that, I don't know why the refund is going to which party, but how they determine that. But they're double payments. Life Flight Network, that's because of an exemption they qualified for. They own property in Marion County. And we got some clarity on.
They're a nonprofit, apparently. Is that
Right, they're owned by by a charitable organization and two government entities,
okay?
and that got cleared up in the legislature, so they qualified for exemption.
So thank you. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't the mistakes in appraisal or method, but it's mostly just in
It's
payments.
accounting.
Okay.
It's accounting. You'd be surprised how many double payments there are.
If I ever do that, tell me.
Well, that's exactly what this
So
is. Our
I
tax
would
office
miss it
catches
if it
us.
were me. That's just me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve all of these items. I'll second the motion. I think I already did. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those are all approved. Thanks, Tom, for being here and making that explanation. So let's move into our action agenda. The first item is to consider an order approving Administrative Policy and Procedure Number 526, Continuity of Operations Plan. That's under Board of Commissioners. We have Lisa Trowernick. It looks like Ed Flick is going to join her. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioner. Thank you for having us here. And yes, this is Ed Flick, Emergency Management Director, or Emergency Manager. And I'm Lisa Trowernick, Policy Analyst in the Board's office. And we're here to present a new administrative policy on COOP plans, which is Continuity of Operations Plan. And essentially what that is it outlines the direction for each department in the county to have in place plans for continuing operations in the event of an emergency so that essential county functions will continue. So Ed is going to talk a little bit about that. The departments have all updated their COOP plans recently, and he can let you know how that is going and how we're going to move forward with this policy.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Ed Flick, Marion County Emergency Manager. The program is very excited to see this policy. We think it's going to provide a clear framework for guidance across the departments and across the government to build effective continuity of operations plans and also to maintain and grow our ability to respond over time. We've worked closely with several of the departments in the board's office to get the right detail in the policy. It fixes responsibility for individual department plans appropriately, we feel, with the department head, and then assigns responsibility to the emergency management program to work with those departments, help them fill in the gaps where we find them, and also develop a continuity of government plan, which would then help the board to ensure that the county as a whole can respond in a more catastrophic event. Under the previous direction from the board, we have worked with county departments and conducted 4 workshops over the last 6 months, and we have seen really great input into department continuity operations plans. We're currently reviewing those plans and providing feedback to the department points of contact, and we're excited to see the direction we're headed there. We're also working now with departments to identify the gaps and fill them in. So we're working with departments on communications, for example. We also are bringing together a meeting soon with business services, procurement, and legal to begin to develop guidance and move forward with alternate facility planning and procurement. In total, I think as a result of this, should you choose to adopt it, we're just going to be more prepared for both things small and large.
That's what you have?
You want more, don't you? So do I.
So why don't we talk about what are there specific provisions in the policy and procedure that we want to highlight before we?
Again, the focus of continuity of operations is to identify the things that each department does. It's called a business function analysis. And then, based on the importance of that particular function, is it something that needs to be maintained on a daily basis? Can it be left undone for a week? Could it be left undone for a month? So by doing that analysis, we're able to sort through all of the various things that the departments do and prioritize them, and that will assist in the allocation of resources to restore services if they're interrupted. The process then asks departments to identify those things that it needs to do those particular functions, whether it's staff or vehicles or information technology, communications, vital records. So what you end up with is an organized approach to say, what does the county do on a day-to-day basis? What can afford to wait for a week or a month to be restored? What has to be maintained or restored within a day? And what does it take to accomplish that? And then really the heart of COOP is, once you've had that analysis, to begin to develop your ability over time to prevent disruptions by having resilience, having the communication systems you need, having a plan to have access to your vital records. A good example is, the legal department has a plan, day or night, that they can produce documents for the board if they can't get to the office. It's a wonderful example. We've talked to the treasurer, for example, about where we could put financial instruments that we can make payments if necessary. In the IT department, it's really important to identify what information technology systems support which functions, so that Scott Emery can prioritize what level of preparedness he should have in a particular system. So I think by doing the analysis and the hard work, we'll really understand the things that need to be most resilient, and understand also what we can afford to restore, later. Because in some circumstances, we won't be able to restore everything all at once.
Okay, so thank you for that. Let me just kind of tag on to that. So we have a policy in front of us. I understand it's a new policy. We haven't had a policy before. And even though we've been doing COOP planning for as long as I can remember, and I got here in 2003, this is the first time we've ever had a policy. And we have been taking our departments through a process which is a bit more structured probably than they had in the past, and has a particular software program with it where they enter in specific data points, and you're combining all of that to make that into a COOP plan. So it's timely that we're bringing this forward, because this just memorializes or formalizes the process that we've been going through. I think the crux of the policy is under number 2, where it says responsive, because it describes what the components are of a COOP plan, and you've done that. And then it says each department head within Marion County is responsible for developing and implementing a continuity of operations plan to ensure continued delivery of its vital services during an emergency, identify resource needs, identify resources that could be provided to local agencies during response and recovery phases of an emergency or disaster event. So that's the crux of the policy there. And then one of the things I was looking for, because when it says develop and implement, do you only develop the plan once and then implement it, or because I know that the plans that they worked on in 2003 and 2004 are not the same plans that we're doing in 2017 and 2018, right? And there is a line in 2.1.3 that says developing, approving, and maintaining a departmental COOP. So I'm assuming that the word maintaining means that there's going to be periodic updates, and that perhaps the software program is going to, much like this database that we're working on with community services, that there's going to be prompts that would require people, if a staff member changes that's a contact, or a fax number or phone number changes or whatever. So just if you want to confirm what I'm saying is correct or add to that, I'd
yes, Commissioner. I think planning is more of a verb than a noun, and these were plans that will be updated and maintained. The policy provides a framework that lays out roles, authorities, responsibilities that had been informal in the past. It builds on a lot of great work the county's done for over a decade in continuity of operations planning. There is a system that we're using that's actually provided under by the Office of Oregon Emergency Management that the state as a whole chooses to invest in, called BOLD planning. BOLD allows my office to run reports, and we get to see things like alternate facilities. And one of the things we'll do to add value to department planning is to look at where all the departments think they may go for alternate facilities and deconflict those, right? If each department coop was done in isolation, we may have everybody assuming they could go out to Public Works in an emergency when that may not be available at all. There is responsibilities in here to maintain up-to-date points of contact, which is really, really important as it relates to specific delegations of authority. One thing that sometimes happens in a disaster is the one person that has authority or access to some function is not available, and there's confusion. The plan will have to be maintained because people change all the time. The system as a whole sends out update reminders, and there's webinars that help plan authors to focus on particular areas of the plan. For example, the theme this month is facilities, and so one of the services that we'll provide to the departments is access to these webinars, and then staff subject matter expert assistance to maintain the coops. And then another aspect of the policy are coop exercises, right? It requires each department to conduct a coop exercise on an annual basis, and as we support those exercises, it'll also help us to work with business services and information technology and finance and legal to make sure that the plans are in place to support the line departments to do those things.
Great. And then the last thing I would add is that the board, we have a policy about adopting policies. So under our policy to adopt policies, we adopt the policy portion of this. We don't adopt by board order the procedures that are attached to it, the administrative procedures, since those are administrative. We do that because there may be opportunities to tweak or adjust the procedures, and it allows the staff on an administrative basis to make those adjustments without coming to the board like you are today and having to make a presentation and deal with all of our questions, my questions. So, but it looks like the procedures, but it is attached so that, and I remember I asked for that when we first did the policy, so the board can see what the implementation looks like. And so it looks like the procedures actually lay out the different sections of that plan and database as it does that, the contact section, the mission essential function section, delegation of authority, and so on. I won't read all of them. And it does talk about that it does give very specific, I guess, instructions to the departments about what they're supposed to do around coop planning. So that's attached to that. And there was one other thing I was going to say, and then I lost my train of thought. Oh, I did notice under periodic review in the policy itself that it talks about the department coop shall be reviewed and tested annually and updated throughout the year as needed. So that also kind of speaks to the issue that I raised before. So you're the emergency management guy.
We pretty well covered everything. I was listening for, you mentioned a couple. I was hoping this process procedure would I don't know, uncover gaps, omissions in the current plan. You listed facilities and communications. Anything else that we found and might cure?
The most significant gaps are in alternate facilities, and so having a deliberate way to identify and then have the appropriate level of agreement or procurement action in place to support the alternate facility is important. There was one of the tools this is going to provide for Scott Emery, for example, is that prioritized list of IT systems, so he can really understand which system supports a really vital function. And of course, there's a significant financial component to consider when you think about resilience of individual systems. We rely a lot in the county on data that is in servers in buildings that may not be resilient. And so this process, I think, is going to help the county understand the business case for doing things like putting data in the cloud that could be available. But of course, if it's in the cloud, you have to have a means to reach that and access it. So satellite data access becomes a tool you need if you pursue that strategy. So I think as the process matures, we're going to see inputs maybe as early as 18-19. I know my program has put together some proposals for 18-19 in capital that will help to close these gaps. I was just talking to community services about the radio, for example. We're doing the same thing in health. So I'll go back to the process of prioritization. If we have a very deliberate way to identify what the county does and needs to restore in a particular time frame, I also think it helps us to set up the logical argument for a business case to tailor specific investments towards resilience as opposed to more of a less deliberate approach.
The last I have, I know a big effort was made in this last 6 months. I kind of set a target for January 1st. You've said that every department has them in. You're looking at it. So when can this be wrapped up? And
we'll complete our review of the department coops within the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Good. That's all I have. So,
Very good. And after I had made that comment about only adopting the policy, I took a closer look, because I actually looked at it before and didn't notice it, to the board order, and it also adopts the procedure and the verbiage. So Bruce is going to tweak that, and we'll have a slightly different board order to sign than the one that's posted on the internet right now, but it will reflect that the board is adopting the policy, but not the procedure.
all right. So I think it follows this. I'm going to make a motion that we do approve the order regarding administrative policy and procedure number 526, continuity of operations plan.
Right, and it would be just administrative policy, number 526. Yep. And I'll second your motion with that
Okay.
clarification. Any further discussion? Thank you for bringing this forward, and I know a lot of work went into it.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And it's approved.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Next up, Community Services. This is an order approving the Business Development Grant Award in the amount of $50,000 to Adaptive Plastics. And Sarah Spinks is here to tell us about this item.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Spinks with Community Services here on behalf of the Economic Development Program to request approval of a $50,000 Oregon Lottery Business Development Grant for Adaptive Plastics. This application was submitted to the Economic Development Advisory Board last October and approved at the November meeting and brought forward for recommendation for board funding with some contingencies. So there has been a little bit of delay in bringing this forward as we've been trying to work out those contingencies with the organization. But Adaptive Plastic is a locally owned, family-operated business here in Marion County for the last 30 years. And they're located out on Brook Lake Road. And their grant proposal that they brought forth is a expansion to be able to add some space and hire some new staff to implement some deployment of new patent pending technology related to agriculture. So the Economic Development Advisory Board was really excited about this application because it does align with the developing and soon to be proposed economic development strategy that will be focusing largely on business development around agri-tech and ag-related businesses. So this project will, they're requesting $50,000. The total price for them to implement this is $267,000 and some change, and they'll be adding about 10 employees over a 2-year period. The project specifically will fund expansion of facility for the tech deployment unit, as well as a community greenhouse where they will be partnering with the Marion Polk Food Share on teaching community members how to grow healthy, sustainable foods. So we're just bringing it forward and asking for your approval.
Thank you. Now, was this, because you're saying that it took a while, and I know that while I was out, I don't know, was it in December that you had the rest of them, or earlier in January you had some other?
So we brought it forward to management update in like 2 weeks ago, and you were out.
You're right,
The
exactly.
contingencies for the EDAB's recommendation for funding was that they move forward with obtaining all of the permits from Marion County that would be required for the like the building additions and renovations, as well as providing proof of funds for the rest of the project. And so they're still working on those, but they have been giving status updates. So we will not be issuing a contract until those contingencies are met.
Okay, and I guess the other part of my question was, because it's just one proposal coming forward, was the application period, there were others that were approved, but they were approved before, or is this just one coming forward?
This
in
is
a
just
particular-
one. So
Okay.
we have $150,000 budgeted for business development grants for this fiscal year, the 17-18, and we're accepting applications on a rolling period.
Oh, okay.
So we just review as they come forward, and this is the only one that has been submitted.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions?
No. So, I'd make a motion, we approve the order that, I'm trying to think of another way to say approve. I'll read it is. We approve an order approving the Business Development Grant Award in the amount of $50,000 to Adaptive Plastics.
And I'll second the motion. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Approved, thank you. And then number 3, we removed by motion at the outset of the meeting, so we'll move now to Public Works. Item number 4, consider approval of a resolution initiating amendments to the Marion County Code, Title 17, which is the Rural Zone Code, to adopt criteria and standards regulating the siting for photovoltaic solar arrays in certain zones. And Brandon Reich was here, and then he forgot something, and he's going back, but he will be here momentarily.
Okay. Sorry, Commissioners.
Good morning,
Thank you.
Brandon.
Good morning. For the record, Brandon Reich, staff representing the Planning Division of Public Works. On December 27th, 2017, the Marion County Board of Commissioners adopted a resolution initiating amendments to the Marion County Code Title 17, the Rural Zone Code, to adopt criteria and standards regulating the siting of photovoltaic solar arrays in certain resource zones. The resolution directed the Marion County Planning Commission to hold a meeting to provide a recommendation to the board. There were questions raised about the county's process. After consultation with Marion County Legal Counsel, it was determined that the Planning Commission must hold a public hearing before it can make a recommendation to the board. Due to the county's desire to develop potential amendments in a timely manner, the resolution today replaces the previous resolution by not directing the Marion County Planning Commission to make a recommendation. Instead, the Board of Commissioners will hold the initial hearing on the matter and consider amendments without a Planning Commission recommendation, which is not required as part of the process. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Do you have questions?
Well, just a statement, this doesn't hold the process up. In fact, if I remember, it moves it ahead a couple of weeks. It's a question that I think the county needs to get answered. The basic issue is that these arrays are going all over the county, applications are coming in, and the idea is that it shouldn't be using prime farmland if we're supposed to protect it for them. So I'm hoping through the process that will end up being the conclusion and the end result. And we're looking for those ways, and I've asked you to already, Brandon, come up with some ideas that not trying to cut off anybody from use, but if it's prime farmland, I'm looking for these to go in on that ground that we always hear about. I can't farm it, I can't build on it, all I can do is pay taxes. That's where it belongs. And I'm hoping that'll be the result of this process.
So I guess today what we're just doing right now is setting up the process that we're going to use, right, through this resolution?
Correct. The resolution.
And we had, before this, set up a different process, and because of
Yes.
discussions you've had with legal counsel and outside legal counsel, that this process will basically more precisely adhere to what the state requires for doing the types of code
Correct,
revisions that we're
state and
talking
county
about.
code.
Right, yeah.
And it would set a board hearing date for Wednesday, March 14th, 9:30.
Okay.
Good.
So that should be an interesting one.
All right, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we do approve the resolution that initiates amendments to Marion County Code Title 17, which is a rural zone code that adopts criteria and standards regulating the siting of you did it right, voltaic solar arrays in certain zones.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That is approved. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Next item, under Public Works. Brendan, you're going to do this? It says Joe is here.
Yes,
but
I will.
It doesn't look like Joe is
Today.
here. So this would be number 5, consider approval of an administrative ordinance granting zone change, comprehensive plan amendment number 17-002, Video Acquisitions, Inc., Clerk's File number 5737.
Yes, good morning. Thank you again, Commissioners. For the record, Brandon Reich, staff representing the Planning Division of Public Works. The item before you today is an application to change the zone from acreage residential to unincorporated community industrial, and to change the comprehensive plan designation from rural residential to industrial on a 0.6 acre parcel located at 3511 Brook Lake Road Northeast. The Marion County Hearings Officer held a public hearing on this application on September 6, 2017, and on December 11th issued a recommendation that the board approve the request. The board held a public hearing on January 3rd, 2018, and after considering all the evidence and information in the record, the board approved the request, subject to conditions recommended by the hearings officer. The conditions will reduce potential impact on neighboring residential property, limit driveway access to Brook Lake Road, and require an identifying sign to be visible from Brook Lake Road. And we have discussed these conditions with the applicant's representative, and the conditions are acceptable to the applicant. The ordinance and findings have been prepared, and notice of adoption was given on January 17th, 2018. The administrative ordinance is now set for formal adoption. The board has the options of adopting the ordinance as written, directing staff to prepare a modified ordinance, or choosing not to adopt the ordinance at this time. Staff recommends the board adopt the attached ordinance as provided. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
I personally don't have any questions because we just had the hearing recently. I remember it clearly, and I think that this is a good resolution, and it reflects what the board approved at that time. My question's more technical. I'm looking at what's in our packet, and it may just be copy machine or whatever, but under Exhibit A, it doesn't look like the entire hearings officer's report is included in what I have here. It ends on, so does the hearings officer report in the ordinance get revamped into something different?
I believe that is those are the evidence and findings, and then
Okay.
the conditions are in Exhibit B.
Because what I was looking for was the hearings officer's rendition of the case law around the right-of-way issue, which was discussed extensively at the hearing, and I'm not seeing that in the exhibit. So if it's not there, would you make sure that it's included?
I will ensure that it's there.
I'm
I think-
wondering, are you thinking there was another one on Brook Lake Road further west that had the driveway issues? Could you
Oh,
be
is
thinking of
that the different one?
I think so.
No, I think wasn't this the right-of-way? This was not the right-of-way one. This was a different one? Looking at Jeff, so,
This does include the right-of-way.
isn't this the one where we had the discussion and it was right behind the store, right? This is,
Yes.
yes, this is the one, right? Yes, okay.
Oh,
So if it is the one right behind the store, there was I read it out loud at the hearing, a paragraph or two about the case law that stated that the reason why we have to be cautious about right-of-way, and I would think that it would be important for that case law to be included in the findings of law, what is it called here? Findings of fact and conclusions of law. All I see in it
I think it's
is in number 13.
under goal,
And is it in the, okay, what,
under goal 12, I see a discussion on the right-of-way.
Okay, so, I'm
frontage.
sorry, it doesn't even have page numbers on it, so can you, that would be nice too, to put page numbers on the pages of the exhibit so that people can actually reference them.
Yes. Under goal 12, in the hearings officer's
Can you give me the
recommendation.
number?
In the hearings officer's recommendation, page 10.
Okay, but that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Exhibit A.
Yes. Exhibit A is page 4. Under the bottom, goal 12.
So under 12, number 12?
No,
Okay, so they're numbered, if you would. Okay,
it's
so
number 6.
statewide planning goals, that's number 7 then,
yeah,
right?
it's number 6. It's at the bottom of the goal 7, so it's goal 12, at the bottom of that page. Transportation.
Right, but I don't see the case law in there. You're saying it's number 12, transportation? Right, it talks about the numbers of trips, talks about Public Works comment, talks about traffic impacts. It doesn't state the names of the 2 court cases that were in the hearings
Nolan and
officer's
Nolan.
report. And then when I look back at the place I was looking at where it was missing, which is it's almost to the end of the,
Okay, I don't see it either.
it's
I'll
number
ensure
it's
that.
number 13. It starts electric, telephone, and other utilities are available. Then it says applicant objects to the proposed condition of approval. Provided information from a traffic engineer, it talks about it there. And then it says, in this instance, there's not enough information in the record to make the necessary individualized finding that the proposed condition of right-of-way dedication is warranted. So it doesn't include that discussion. I would like that discussion added.
I will ensure that is included for the board,
Okay.
when the board adopts the ordinance.
So if you could provide that, or you or someone at Public Works could provide that before we sign
We will.
so that it's attached, I would
The-
appreciate that.
The ordinance, yeah, the ordinance is intended to adopt the hearings officer's recommendation as the evidence and findings for the ordinance. And so we inadvertently left out components of the hearings officer's recommendation. We will ensure those are included as referenced by the ordinance
Thank you.
before the board adopts.
Yeah, it's just that, I mean, if you have to go back to without it being here, it gets lost, and someone could argue that we didn't include it intentionally, and.
No, it's meant to be
and-
there, and
right, so-
we'll make sure it's there. Absolutely.
Okay. So that was my concern. Anything
No, I
from your
didn't
end?
have any. I don't, well, I'll just ask what I'm thinking. I don't know how we as a board notice, not in this process, but that the final requirements for driveway placement and right-of-way are reasonable. Will we have any opportunity to make sure what is required of the property owner is reasonable?
We've discussed with the property owner the conditions of approval, with the property owner's representative, and they are acceptable to the property
Okay.
owner.
Well, let me just tag on to that. I think
I understand.
it's an extension of the discussion that we just had about putting the case law in there. So what we heard at the hearing from Public Works was that they have the right to take the right-of-way, even though the land use decision says that they can't at the permit process, because the code allows them to. And so that we had a lot of discussion about that, and I think legal counsel wasn't prepared at that time to and I'm not going to put him on the spot today, but what I stated on the record at that point is that if the applicant comes in and discovers that that is the case, then they need to let the board know, because then I think we want to be able to deal with that.
And Madam Chair, after that board session and hearing, there was, I know there was some discussion between legal counsel and the department to share the board's thoughts about that
Right.
issue.
So we're hoping that we won't be contacted because it won't be an issue, so.
And the applicant's representative is here today and understands your concerns, and I'm certain he will be attentive to that item.
Right, I think so too, so.
All right.
All
I
right.
think I know what to do then, so Or do I? I'm going to make a motion that we approve the administrative ordinance granting zone change comprehensive plan amendment 17002 video acquisitions incorporated clerk's file 5737 directing that additional evidence of what would be the correct traffic
It would-
right-of-way discussion be included in the final version.
I'll second your motion. So any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
It's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Just one little comment. I thought you were confused, but I was confused. I was thinking of an urban growth request on Brook Lake, and then I look, well, that isn't it, so.
But when you told me
Sometimes you
I was on the wrong, I was like, really?
No, as soon as I
So
saw the map,
sure, it
oh,
was the
yeah,
Southern
it
Case.
is the same one, so excuse me for being wrong again.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brandon. And then the last item, we are going to put on our hats as the Contract Review Board. This is under Community Services, and it's to consider a request of an exemption to allow the use of a class special procurement for the veterinarian and community dog licensing program, to award multiple veterinary licensing agreements for the sale and issuance of dog licenses on behalf of Marion County. So we have Tammy Getch here from Community Services, and Camber Schlag from Finance, right, that does our contracts. And Camber, are you going to start us out?
I am. Good morning. My name is Camber Schlag. I'm the Contracts and Procurement Manager in Finance, and with me I have Tamara Getch.
Tamara Getch, Community Services Department Director.
And we are before you here this morning because the Marion County Community Services Department seeks an exemption from the Marion County Public Contracting Rules, Section 20-0285, to seek excuse me, which allows the board to direct the use of alternative contracting methods as an exemption to the prescribed public contracting rules in Oregon, and its use must be justified in accordance with the Public Contracting Code and Marion County Public Contracting Rules. Community Services is requesting an exemption to allow the use of a class special procurement for the veterinarian and community dog licensing program to award multiple contracts. Actually, there are agreements for the sale and issuance of dog licenses on behalf of Marion County. The Veteran and Community Dog Licensing Program allows veterinarian and community partners in Marion County to license dogs residing in Marion County at the service location. The public-private partnership provides an opportunity for local residents to conveniently comply with required dog licensing laws. And they get the licenses immediately following a rabies or booster vaccination. The Community Services Department will open this opportunity to any and all veterinarian medical examining board licensed veterinarians, veterinarian clinics, municipalities, in Marion County. The notifications will be made via ORPN, direct mail, and in person. A notice was posted on ORPN for a class special procurement, and it did close with no protest received. So in order to for you to consider approval of this class special procurement for the award of the dog license sales in the amount of $300,000 through December 31st of 2022. The Community Services Department will be permitted to issue contracts to all veterinarians, veterinary clinics, and municipalities who would like to voluntarily participate in this program.
And commissioners and for our viewing public, just so that folks understand what this means to them if they're a dog owner. As you know, Marion County Dog Shelter is responsible for issuing license and providing public safety under Marion County's code for dogs in Marion County. Part of that requirement is a dog must be vaccinated with the rabies, as well as soon as someone comes into become a resident in Marion County, within 30 days they are by code required to become licensed, as well as if a puppy becomes of age 6 months or has its canine teeth present in its mouth, then licensing is also required. you all know as much as I do that we're trying to figure out ways to make licensing as easy as possible. And until our new software is fully implemented, veterinarians have been an important aspect to allowing community members who are dog owners ease of licensing through a veterinarian location that has participated in the past. This proposal has expanded the existing program that we've been doing for years in two ways. One, we are expanding it to allow municipalities to take on this licensing requirement. Our staff would then go out to these municipalities, train them on licensing, what a certification of rabies certificate would look like, as well as the process of responsibly handling the resources and issuing proof of payment. Those then would be picked up and managed by our office and come into our licensing revenues. The other expansion of this would be from paying $1 per license sold at any of these locations to $3. So we're hoping that this will encourage our participating partners to push licensing, if you will, to its customers so that we can get an increase in dog licensing wherever possible. We did a survey before issuing this that looked at licensing and how much they thought would kind of entice them to do a bit more educating about the opportunity to license right within the clinic. And it ranged anywhere from $0 to $5. So $3 was really the average amount for that. And we have over the last few months been working with the city of Jervis, who is our first interested community partner who would like to begin issuing dog licensing to their local residents. Any payments that we pay out for this service would come out of our licensing revenue. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the program or the process.
If I could, I don't
Yeah,
think
go
I
ahead.
have questions, just comments. I've been kind of pushing for this for a long time to find an incentive. It's certainly the right time to get the licenses when they have the vaccination and to make it all as easy as possible. They're so important, as you know and said, to fund the system, to keep it going, for the betterment of the animals, the dogs in our community. So I'm all for it. The alternative that I wasn't for was a mandatory, if you give a vaccination, you have to license, and I didn't like the sound of that. So I'm certainly hoping this works and that the veterinarians will say that, well, it's at least worth their time to do it and help see if we can't get the number of licenses up in Marion County.
So thanks. So my only question is in terms of the class special procurement. So the reason it's a class special procurement is that we're not going out to bid, I guess, for
Correct.
veterinarians to say they want to be part of this. But let me just say, we wouldn't have to go out to bid anyway if the amount of the contract was less than what,
Correct.
20,000 each? So do we think that there are going to be veterinarians that exceed
We do have some,
$20,000?
right, we have some agreements right now that exceed $20,000.
Okay.
And when I worked with community service to add up the total dollar amount or budget amount for this group of contracts, it was $300,000 over a span of 5 years.
So it's going to be a hodgepodge, I guess, for one of a more technical term.
Yes.
And so that means that, like the city of Jervis, we could just do an intergovernmental agreement. We wouldn't have had to do this
Correct.
with them. Ones that are under 20,000, this wouldn't be necessary. But we're really doing this just to encompass those that would bump up over the threshold, and then all of a sudden we'd be in a situation where the contract wouldn't meet our contracting rules. Is that
Correct.
kind of
Yes.
a good synopsis?
And then because we also set the price, by doing a bid or doing an RFP, those veterinarians could come back and say, I will perform this for this amount of money, where we are actually setting the price.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Sounds good. So
Chair Carlson, if I could, then I'd make a motion that we, let's see. We allow the use of a class special procurement for veterinarian and community dog license program. We'll just leave it at that.
And you're approving an order
And approving an order.
granting the class special procurement.
And granting the class special procurement. Normally, it's all written out here and easy.
All right.
But I think we get it.
So I will second your motion, and we are approving an order granting a class special procurement. And all the other things that
Oh,
you
there,
said.
I see it here in the options.
Right.
Wonderful.
Okay, so is there any further discussion?
No.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's approved, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with that, that's going to be a really important thing for us to move forward with. So with that, I will close the contract review board, and now we are back to being the Board of Commissioners, but we have no more action
I don't
items.
feel any different.
No more public hearings. So, just after 10 o'clock, anything that you want to add before we adjourn? We're going to
Yes.
the Council of Governments annual dinner tonight. Is that correct?
Yes. Looking forward to it. It's
Somebody
weather-
twisted my arm, and so
I
I
don't know
guess
how
I'm
that
going
could
too,
happen,
so.
but I'm expecting big things. Let's just leave it at that.
All right.
It's a long meeting, sometimes too long, let's just be honest, but I do look forward to it. And it is a chance to meet with more of a regional, local government group. And we have a new director this year with Sean.
That's right, Sean O'Day, and he's doing a really nice job from what I can tell from my interactions with him. Oh, I got to read the calendar. Thank you.
So you're not perfect after all.
I am
What is
not
that
perfect.
about?
So let me read the calendar. All right, so Wednesday to Wednesday, January 31st to February 7th, these are our meetings where there will be 2 or 3 commissioners. So we're just concluding our board session in the Senator Hearing Room here at Courthouse Square. And here it says, Wednesday, 1:31 from 6 to 9 is the Council of Governments Annual Dinner at Spirit Mountain, Salmon River Highway in Grand Ronde. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, tomorrow's February the 1st, we will have our monthly Department Head Elected Officials Board meeting. That's held in the Commissioners Boardroom on the 5th floor of Courthouse Square. Monday, February 5th, is our calendar review at 8:30 in the Silverton Conference Room, 5th floor here at Courthouse Square, followed by management update at 9, same place. And then on Wednesday, February 7th, we'll be back here in the Senator Hearing Room at 9 a.m. for our regular board session. And that will be followed at noon by our monthly meeting with Woodburn officials at the Woodburn Marion County meeting. That will be held at Luis's Taqueria, 523 Front Street in Woodburn. All right, so I did that. Thank you, Christy, for the reminder. Anything else for the good of the order?
Well, I wish I could announce it, but it didn't happen. It was another message I got. But I'm on baby watch, my youngest son. It's due February 2nd. We have a lottery. We have a lottery in the family, so Friday is the due date, and I got the whole day. It's worth $200. I'm sorry, I won it. So anyway, we're really excited about it, and they're really cute, but they're, I don't know. We had 5, so I've been through it plenty of times, but,
This will be the 6th,
well, this is their first.
but your 6th grand?
No, I only have 3.
3, okay, so
Yeah,
you're
they
third.
haven't been
Okay.
producing well. This is,
all right,
this
okay.
is significant, 30% increase.
Okay, all right, there you go. Very good, well,
Anyway,
congratulations.
that's our fun thing going on right now, and
Very nice.
I was hoping when I felt my pocket buzz, it was time. I've been ordered, I will be there, and I'm happy to do that, don't get me wrong, but should be fun.
All right, well, I think with that, we will adjourn.